Welcome back, everybody. We're going to jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. And again, we're on topic points number 6 and number 5 this week. And we're going to do a quick review. But before we get started, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, hit the alert button. And then if you know of somebody who's ready to go and getting ready to start a business, recommend this video series to them, or this video specifically, and maybe they'll find some things that are helpful for them to get going. Maybe they have no place to start, they just have a great idea, they just have no idea in terms of what they need to do to get going. I think this is a great video series for them to take a look at, and maybe it'll help get them on the road to starting an awesome business that will do really well for them and their family. I'm going to do a quick review before we jump into number 6 and number 5. Had a bonus tip for you. And that one is make sure you, and I'm not going to go through these in depth because the further we get into these, the longer it's going to take for these. So I'm trying to keep the time down so that we can cover the primary ones. But determine if you need to hire anybody right up front. That's an expensive endeavor. Maybe you do. And then if you do need to hire somebody, determine if you need to hire them part-time or full-time. There's a bunch of other tips, a couple of other tips in here that I also go over in the prior video, the first video, number 10 and number 9. And that was the bonus tip. Number 10, you need to establish an FEIN. It's your federal employer identification number, and it's basically your social security number for your business of the baby that you're giving birth to here. So it allows you to pay taxes, hire people, get contracts with other business. I'm not going to, again, cover this in depth. Number 9, you have to register your business with the state where you're planning on paying your taxes in. Does not necessarily mean that it's the place where you operate in, but again, I cover that in that first video, and there should be a link to the playlist at the end of this video as well. Number 8, and again, number 8, number 7, money well spent for both of these, but pay some money up front to speak to a business attorney, right? They're going to save you more time and headache and get things done quicker. They're more expensive, but if you were to actually try and wade through all the minutia and legalese of what it means to take care of business documents, it might take you 10 times as long, and it'll actually end up costing you less to hire a good business attorney who has the templates and everything set up. They have all the staff in place to actually get things done for you quickly. They know how to register and apply these things. And again, they're just a great resource. So I covered that again in the last video. Same things for a tax accountant, right? Interview them, hire them. Are you leaving your current situation to start a business so that you can become an attorney or a tax accountant? I don't think so. And it's going to take you, like I mentioned just a couple of seconds ago, it's going to take you a lot longer to actually do these things because you don't have necessarily that expertise. And even if you do, is that what you're wanting to do? Are you starting a tax or an accounting firm? If you are, that's one thing. But if you're not starting an accounting firm and you do have that subject matter expertise, does not mean that your time is better spent doing that. And I would encourage you and challenge you to think about what it means to spend your time in other areas, right? So just really consider that as you're starting your new business. All of these items, I think they're quality tips and considerations. And again, because I'm trying to bring you quality and added extra value. And again, if you're finding that I'm bringing you value, give me that subscribe. Bonus tip number 2, get business insurance if needed, right? You may not need to, but depending on what type of service or product you're offering, you might be required to, number 1, right? If you're a subcontractor and you're going in and you're starting a consulting company, a lot of times you go in there and you think, I'm just doing my thing. But if you're working with a big company that has exposure to huge clients, for instance, if you're, working subcontracting software out to a hospital, what happens if one of their patients dies, right? And they trace an error or an issue or a bug back to your company, and you don't have liability insurance because of the product and the software that you're writing, you're exposed. You are specifically exposed. And depending on what type of company setup you do, whether it be sole proprietorship or an LLC, most hospitals wouldn't hire you as a sole proprietor. But it is the most important thing that you can do in terms of protecting yourself. And it's not that expensive to get decent liability insurance. If you're a small enough company, what'll happen if you end up getting sued, and maybe it's something so small, but as I gave you the hospital example, right? Maybe they're subcontracting you out to do a small piece of software that they're doing for an enhancement, and you have that, and your small company has the ability to actually take care of that need for them. But if something does go wrong and one of the patients ends up suing the hospital, they're probably going to go after everybody involved. And that includes you if you had any hand in that software development and they tie the issue to the software itself. But what'll happen is they'll probably go after the hospital because it's much larger, they have deeper pockets. And if you have even $250,000 worth of liability insurance, what'll happen if you set up the right corporate structure, right? It being an LLC or an S Corp or C Corp, that company is what's on the hook, and you're going to have a layer of protection from your personal house, your 401k and things like that. And then typically what will happen is they'll go after the insurance company for whatever that limit of your liability is. So if you have liability insurance of $250,000 and something goes terribly wrong, what'll happen is they'll go after the insurance company, they'll call it a day, they'll get as much as they can from them. And again, that's just that added level of insurance that you have. There's companies out there that specialize in offering that type of help to your business, to small businesses, and they can walk you through what it is, what that looks like. Be careful about over insuring yourself, because maybe you're exposing yourself unnecessarily as well. But make sure you have enough. Most companies will require you to have a minimum of $250,000, maybe $500,000 worth of liability insurance. If you don't know where to start, I've used Hitchcock. In insurance, it's Hitchcock or Hitchcock, HISCOX. And they do a pretty good job. Not necessarily recommending them, but if you do Google search on them, I'm sure you'll get all the competitors as well. And then if you really don't have any idea and want to talk to somebody that's maybe local, maybe you can just talk to your home and auto insurance agent. If they don't offer it or their company doesn't offer it themselves, it's highly likely that they know of somebody who they can recommend, and it's nice to have that warm tip. So there's a bonus tip for you. Number 6, you need to establish a business checking account, right? I mentioned FEIN and registering with the IRS and registering with the state. But one of the other things that you're going to need to do if you want to start, paying your people, yourself, buying things, and you want to buy everything through your business account anyway, you need to get that FEIN established, right? Don't commingle your funds. Do not pay out of your personal checking account for business expenses. You want to have a separate account for your business that everything runs through. And again, don't kind of, pay your light bill for your home through your business account. Make sure it's always on the up and up, and don't mix them up together, right? But in order for you to start a business account, you're going to need, well, you obviously have if you're going sole proprietorship and you have your Social Security, you can do that, but it's still not as clean. Like I said, I really don't recommend going sole proprietorship if you don't have to. Maybe you're so small and you're just kind of, moving, a maker, hobby, and just want some place to kind of, process your business account. That's fine. But if you're actually trying to make a living at this, go with something other than sole proprietorship. So you have to have that FEIN and be registered with the state, and obviously with the federal government. And that's what you're going to need to do, again, to receive and spend money. When you're doing that and establishing a business checking account, make sure you know of the various minimums and fees that they have there. It's going to be a little bit higher than it would for a personal checking account, but make sure you know what's going on, because the more business you start to do, the more at risk you're going to become at maybe, becoming overdrawn, because maybe you don't get a contract payment in as soon as you thought it would. And that happens all the time. So you got to make sure that you understand the fees, what's going on in minimum balances, and then beware of the overdraft charges as well that I talked about. You need to be very careful about running a cash business, right? And I know that for a couple of reasons, right? Because there's this tendency to, potentially lose it, or if you don't deposit things, on time. So again, if you're an insurance company, right, a lot of times people will, it's becoming less and less. Cash is going to go away in the, I think the near future actually. But if you're taking cash from customers walking in off the street, you can do that, but you got to make sure that you collect that, you make the receipts for it, and then you make your deposits in a timely way also. And then you want to make sure that you're not, taking $5 out to grab yourself, a coffee at Starbucks. Don't do it. Do not do it. And then if you're a high cash business, right, maybe you're running a convenience store, a gas station, and there's a safety standpoint that you got to think about also, right? So all of those considerations in terms of, why you want to establish a business checking account, and then also considering handling cash. And then number 5, and again, talked about this in the prior series, but develop a detailed and realistic pro forma. And a pro forma basically is a projection of where you think your business is going to go and grow over the next 3, 5, 10 years. And you plot in all your costs, all your revenues, all your sales, everything, right? Up and down turns in terms of just your yearly business cycles. Maybe in the springtime, your business slows down significantly because everybody goes on spring break, and that your normal customer traffic just goes down in the month of March, right? Maybe it's over the Christmas holidays, but those are the types of things that you need to consider in terms of your cash flow. So the other big thing that I want you to do, don't go pie in the sky in terms of developing a pro forma, right? Develop a worst case scenario pro forma, right? In terms of operating on the very, very thin margins and in lean times, and then develop a median target. Never develop the pie in the sky one, right? Because you can always come back and adjust it if you're just going gangbusters and doing great. But do worst case scenario, then medium target pro forma, and that'll give you a good kind of in between in terms of what'll happen there. There's plenty of templates out there, by the way, if you do a Google search in terms of pro formas, and you can adjust the line items there. If you're starting a retail pad, you obviously have to put that in. Workman's comp insurance, if you're having have employees, all those different line items, you want to put that liability insurance. We just talked about that. So, and then once you do that, both the worst case and the medium target pro forma, review it with trusted and knowledgeable friends who know finance and business, right? And if you don't know of any, there's a lot of different nonprofit outfits out there that will spend that time and help you out. The SBA has some SCORE. There's retired executives who volunteer their time to review business plans and pro formas, and will help walk you through there. Plus, there's just a slew of nonprofits that really want to help develop small businesses. Most of your cities have chambers of commerce. They might be a good reference for you to, reference some resources in terms of what that looks like, and maybe give you some considerations for you to start your business. And then the other thing is you got to update your pro forma as your business has enough data, right, to give you a better forecast. Starting out from nothing, you have no idea what the variables are. You have some idea, but you're not going to know the full picture until you're actually operating for 6 months to a year or 2 years, right? And just like anything, the more time you go, the more data you have, the better you can adjust that pro forma. This should be a living document in terms of just what your forecasting looks like. And so another reason you want to have this and have this available and updated is because, and I'll talk about this in one of the next bullet points, but for you to go in and get a loan, they're going to want to see what your forecasting and pro forma looks like, right? Or a line of credit. So, and then again, I mentioned this already, but consider your the various cycles and times of year when you're updating your pro forma. So I'm going to stop sharing. Again, I want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, give me a like on that. It helps. And then click the alert button. And then also, if you know somebody who could benefit from this series, feel free to share it with them. We'll talk to you at the next video.